It's Sway in the morning, only
on Shade 45.
10/10/15, and 20th anniversary of the Million Man March, the Day of Atonement. You know, and I remember 20 years ago I was fighting to come to D.C. and be a part of that Million Man March. I remember the 10-year anniversary as well. You know, one of the things I always admired about you, you know, even to this day, one of the things from your past that a lot of people that's attached to Minister Louis Farrakhan's legacy is your relationship, and you spoke about him earlier with Brother Malcolm. You know, and a lot of folks, I even asked folks today, what would you have me ask him if you had a chance to talk? And the majority of people ask about your relationship with the Brother Malcolm. And what's happened since. People don't really know what happened since his death and your relationship with his family. They didn't see the Mike Wallace interview. You know, they didn't know about you meeting with Betty Shabazz. Can you clarify what's your...
Of course.
Yeah.
Well, first, Brother Malcolm was my mentor. I've never met a more disciplined man. I was very fortunate to have him as my teacher. He was the greatest helper of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I would have given my life to protect his life because of my deep love for Elijah Muhammad and his being his top student. Unfortunately, there would come a time when he would break ranks with the nation and break ranks with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad over an aspect of Mr. Muhammad's personal life. Before that happened, if you remember when John Kennedy was murdered, I don't know whether you know this, but Elijah Muhammad instructed all his ministers not to say anything about the assassination of President Kennedy. Brother Malcolm was speaking at the Manhattan Center, and he got through the lecture perfectly, but he had a question and answer period, and a man from the New York Times asked him a question concerning President Kennedy. And he made a statement that was true. It was a case of the chickens coming home to roost. However, he disobeyed the direction of the teacher. The next day, the newspapers said, Malcolm rejoices, in words, over the assassination of Kennedy. Now, we have many believers in prisons all over America under white Catholic gods. Persecution began because they loved Kennedy. Malcolm was exposing Kennedy, not telling lies, telling truth. But that violation of the instructions of his teacher caused the teacher to silence him. During that period of silence, I was invited to New York to speak on a particular Sunday as other ministers were coming in. And Malcolm came and met me and took me to his home on 2311 97th Street. And during the dinner, Betty brought the dinner in. Malcolm began to tell me about my teacher's personal life. And after he finished, he said, now, brother, I could get these sisters on the telephone and trick them and make them tell you that what I'm telling you is true. I said, no, brother, you don't have to do that. When he took me back to the airport, he said to me, brother, now I don't want you to tell anybody what I've told you. I said, no, I'm not going to tell anybody but the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And I saw his shoulder jump. I went back to Boston. I couldn't sleep. Because sometimes when you learn information that you didn't know that has a tendency to shake your faith some,
Yeah.
it keeps you up. I could not sleep that night, and 5 o'clock the next morning, as that's our time for prayer, Brother Malcolm called me. He said, Brother Lewis, I want you to delay the letter that you were going to write to give me a chance to write a letter to explain what I said and why. I said, brother, it's going to take me some time to get my head together to write such a letter. So if you can get your letter off in that time, fine. I do not want to be put in between two powerful men. He said, well, there's only one powerful man. I said, I'm aware of that, but I'm also aware that your relationship with me and mine with you and him would be troubled. Malcolm wrote his letter, and mine came after his letter, and he was summoned to Arizona to answer his teacher. Now, that was a very difficult period in the nation's life because most of you have girlfriends that you don't legitimize them as wives. I'm not talking to you personally, but most men have women on the side, but they don't accept the responsibility of procreation. Elijah Muhammad married these women. They produced for him children. Now, what you don't know, and you're going to have to face it, women are outnumbering men today from 7 to 11 to 1. And women today lose as a commodity because there's more than the demand. The demand is on the man because he's less, she's more in terms of numbers. So women are played. But one day, we're going to have to think over what polygamy is. It's not the best solution, but when Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, went to war, many men lost their lives and left their wives and their children sometimes as orphans. So the Quran permitted the Muslim male to have up to 4 wives. Under that circumstance, Elijah Muhammad taught us against fornication and adultery. So naturally, if he is taking wives, all of us that follow him, that had girlfriends before we met him, it might trigger us to go back into fornication and adultery. I defended Elijah Muhammad. I did not defend Malcolm. I was angry with him because Elijah Muhammad took Brother Malcolm from prison. A brilliant man, potentially, but doing criminal things. And when Elijah Muhammad, when he became a follower of Elijah Muhammad and came out of prison, I know the NAACP wouldn't use him, nor would the Urban League, because Malcolm only had an 8th grade education. But after Elijah Muhammad taught him, that man became a giant. So it would seem to me that regardless to what you felt about your teacher, why would you try to destroy a movement that gave you life because your teacher disciplined you? And that's where we fell out.
Yeah. But those actions question his faith, though, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And naturally, then, when your faith is shaken, you do what you think you should do. But most of the people don't know that Malcolm tried to get back into the nation before he was assassinated.
Really?
So why would he come back? If your faith was broken, why would you come back? It's because he realized the nation made Malcolm, and Malcolm helped to make the nation. And 1 year, 2 years outside of the nation, he was wandering, not quite sure where he wanted to go. He was a black nationalist, and then he became an Orthodox Muslim. We fell out. And I can't take that back. Because he taught me how to defend my teacher. And I went to him and showed him what I knew and found in the Quran about the domestic life of my teacher. And Malcolm said to me, I already know that, brother. You can't handle that. I'll handle that. Fine. But he mishandled it. And he made the teacher to look bad when he could have defended the teacher just by using the knowledge of the Quran. So, unfortunately, it led to a back and forth. Like a husband and wife break apart, the children are watching a drama. And sometimes the drama gets so tense that one parent will attack another parent to get the children on their side and vice versa. That's the decision that I had to make over a man that inspired my Islamic life and the teacher of my Islamic life. I could not follow Brother Malcolm. I had to follow the teacher who taught us both. Time and circumstances now brought my brother to an assassination. There's a hell of a climate. You can't leave the FBI out of this. You can't leave the U.S. government out of this. They plotted to divide Malcolm from his teacher and create the circumstances that led to his assassination. And in the Freedom of Information Act, you can find all of this that the government was involved in. Malcolm went to Egypt and was poisoned in Egypt. We were not there. When he went to France, and France wouldn't let him in, he took the money of de Gaulle that had de Gaulle's picture on it and threw it on the ground. He knew that de Gaulle did not want him assassinated on French soil. We're not over there. It's bigger than the Nation of Islam. We had differences, yes. And some from the nation were charged with killing him and did 26 years to life, and they were innocent. The one that was guilty did the time, and then he came out and he named all those who were involved in that action with himself. These are records that you can get there in the court with Kunstler and others. Now I want to say this in closing this, Betty, of course, and I, we were at odds. But then the FBI came to my door and told me that we're going to announce somebody is trying to assassinate you, Farrakhan. And we're going to make the announcement at 11 o'clock or something. When the announcement came out, they said it was Kabila Shabazz who had paid some little white boy a little bit of money, and he was to assassinate Louis Farrakhan. Now these are things you can get, it's public record.
Yeah.
I didn't let the FBI put that mess over on me and on us. We had a press conference, and I took the side of Kabila and Betty that they were set up to create a problem between the nationalist community and the Nation of Islam. So Betty and I then stood together, and at the Apollo Theater, we raised money to help Kabila out of that situation, and finally the government dropped the case. And now they're not going to tell you what Farrakhan did to start to bridge that gap. That night at the Apollo Theater, I used the term Brother Malcolm. And Betty said, I hope that you will continue to see him as Brother Malcolm, something like that. And when you hear me talk, mention his name, I say Brother Malcolm. Time heals wounds. There are some wounds that time won't heal, but I know that time will heal this wound, because now there's Kabila, there's Alyasha, there are the twins. That's a beautiful family. And you think about Malcomx Shabazz or Malcolm Shabazz, the only male member that represents Malcolm X, killed in Mexico. The FBI arrested that brother because he was going to Iran to a conference. The government has never stopped trying to harm both the nation and the Shabazz family. So today, I don't say that we're friends, but I do say that we're better than we were 20 years ago. And I want to say to all of you who think that Farrakhan did something to murder Malcolm or was a part of it, don't you know that as much as this enemy hates me, that if they had any evidence that I was a part of a conspiracy to murder Brother Malcolm, I wouldn't be here with this brother now. I'd be in some prison cell, and they wouldn't have to be afraid of the truth coming out of my mouth, because they would have silenced me behind prison bars. So, I have nothing to do with that. And I would hope that you would be intelligent enough to know that the enemy is still working. Today, Louis Farrakhan is the voice that Malcolm was. Do you think they don't want me silenced? Well, soon it'll be my turn, because they're trying to find some way to arrest me, or have some silly person think that they should kill me. And that's out there too.
You received death threats?
Well, if I did, I don't know it. They're saying that the government dropped the case before the Apollo. Yes, they did. That's what made the Apollo so strong. But I mentioned that it was after the Apollo? No, I didn't say that they stopped it after the Apollo. They stopped it, period. That's all. It's a matter of fact. Well, why did the government back out? If they thought they had something, why didn't they continue? See, because we didn't play into the plot. And that's why they lost. So I'm saying this to you, brother. It's a question that I don't mind answering, But no matter what mistake I believe Malcolm made, he died that I might live. Because he made a mistake that I learned from. When I split with Wallace D. Muhammad, you never heard me say one negative word about that man. Because they were the institution, I was just an individual. But Allah has made me an institution now. So, in the end, I'll be the winner. I don't care what the government says. I'm the winner now, and I'll be the winner in the end. And you know what? I call him Brother Malcolm, because even though he's dead, he's bringing more people to Islam in death than some of these living ones cannot do. And the thing that has made Malcolm, it's not an accident. Did you ever read the 11 daily newspapers after Brother Malcolm was assassinated?
No, I didn't read them.
Did you know that every paper in New York rejoiced at the murder of Brother Malcolm? Go back and look. They tried to make a movie on Brother Malcolm, and members of the Jewish community would not finance it or let it come out. Did you know that Brother Malcolm was by the ADL the #1 anti-Semite when he was killed? Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
Did you know that that's what I am now to them? Do they love me? No. I'm asking you a question.
No, sir.
Why don't they love me? Because I exposed them.
That's right.
Malcolm exposed them as the architects of all the civil rights organizations. They were behind them, giving them money. And you know what the theme was? Non-economic liberalism. That none of these organizations, CORE, SNCC, NAACP could involve themselves in economic development, because economic development would take money out of the hands of the Jewish people that funded civil rights. Man, you got to look deep at what's going on today. Don't be no surface people. But we are the winners.
It's Sway in the morning, only
On Shea 45.